Welcome back to Briggs on Books, a truly international talk show now where we talk to authors from all over the world. We just had one from Yorkshire, England, and one yesterday from Canada, so it's pretty exciting. We were just a regional Central California talk show, and along came COVID and put us out of business. We couldn't have guests, so we learned this new thing called Zoom. Have you heard of it? And now, thanks to COVID, I guess, we've expanded to international talk show, international show on authors, people who write, people who publish, people. We get to learn how people go through the process and get their book out. Anyway, our next guest is Tim Wright. Welcome, Tim, author of The Adventures of Toby Baxter. Where are you, by the way, Tim?
Coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, nice.
So not the other part of the world, but we're neighbors.
You're pretty close to California, huh? Now, let me say first, congratulations. I mean, I always say anybody could write a book, or everybody thinks they can, but putting that last period and that last dot and letting it go is tough, I would imagine. But then after that, you have a whole giant job to do, figuring out how to get it published and out there. But you did it, Tim. Tell us.
Thank you. It's been an adventure, and for me, it's been a really joyful one. I love to write. It's the first time I've tried something like this, a middle school book, fantasy adventure, and I just love the experience, and so I'm already on book 4, even though book 1's the only one out. Right?
Oh my goodness! Now, is it the same character throughout?
Yes.
Oh, I love this.
It'll be a 7-book series. It looks like at this point.
Yeah, I love to read a series and keep up on. And when you finish a book, you miss that character, and to have a second one come out and a third is very joyful. To me, anyway. Now, I've learned so much on the show, I started learning to ask, what's the genre? Tell us your genre.
So this is a book geared to middle school readers, although I did write it hoping that parents and grandparents would read it along with their students, their kids. It's fantasy adventure. Mm-hmm. So Toby goes into a different world and wrestles with the big question in his life: how are you going to use your power? Or, even though he's only turning 13, what kind of person, what kind of man you're going to grow up to be?
That's fantastic. Kids are going to get something out of this, plus be drawn in to read it. It sounds like it would be very attractive to that age. By the way, all my kids, they wouldn't read their books, school books. I read every one of them, and I enjoyed the middle school and the high school reading list, but also one of my kids just couldn't or wouldn't read, and my wife, she read to him every day, and I think that's important.
It absolutely is important. In fact, good research on that, Mike, that our kids need to consume words, and whether they're reading them or having those words read to them, it's really good for them. And we know that boys in particular find it more difficult to read books. That doesn't mean that they don't read. They'll read sports pages. They'll read stuff on the internet. But what I wanted to try to do was to write a book that was short, fast-paced, so that girls would love it, but that boys would say, yeah, I can read this book and get something out of it.
Kind of not uncool to read it. It might be kind of cool,
right,
which is what they need in there. Now, I want to say this is that to all of our viewers, go buy this book, but don't buy one, buy 5 of them. I love to get 5 copies of something and hand it out to people, or whenever a teenage boy or a girl comes in my office here, here, have this book and read it and tell me what you think, kind of thing. So
yeah. I appreciate the support. Yes, as many people as want to read it as possible.
Yeah. Now, is it on paperback? I think I saw.
So it comes in ebook, it comes in paperback, and also we just released the audiobook.
Audiobook, okay.
All 3, yeah. I've got one of my grandkids, my grandsons. He's not a reader, but he is a ferocious listener to audiobooks. Yeah. So he actually read my book because it wasn't out yet, an audiobook, but he's really thrilled to know that there'll be an audiobook from now on.
Whose voice is on the audiobook?
Well, in the first go-around, it was a gentleman I've never met before. Yeah. He came through the publishing company, and I didn't realize, and he did a great job, by the way, but I have a friend who's a professional actress, and I said, could I use her? Just because we've worked together for a long time, so she's doing the second book.
Second book, yeah. I have, because of my age, man, audiobooks are so much easier. These books are getting harder and harder to see the words. So,
yeah, well, they're a thing called readers.
Yeah, well, I got that, and I got the bigger ones, and still it's hard. It gets harder. When you get my age, you'll see, Tim. Anyway,
yeah, thank you.
So we know who your audience is. We know a little bit about what the book is about. Where do they find the book?
Ask me that question
Where
again.
will they find the book? Amazon?
Yes, they can. Well, if they go to timwrightbooks.com, timwrightbooks.com, we have the correct link to all of the books.
Okay.
So, yeah, Amazon has it, but it gets funky a little times,
Yeah.
once in a while. So, yeah, go to timwrightbooks.com, and they'll have a link to all three versions of it.
Whenever if I can buy an author's book on the website, I always try to do that. And
Well, this will send you right to Amazon, but there's been a little glitch with how they're doing it with this particular book. So I want to make sure they get the right link.
it gets the right link. Also, and by the way, you have interesting Instagram as well. I think that's where we found you. Just go to Instagram and type Tim Wright Books, or go to the web and type Tim Wright Books. The web page will come up. Go to Instagram, type Tim Wright Books, and the Instagram will open. What else do you want our viewers to know, Tim?
So the book was written out of an experience that I've had over the last several years. I've been working for about 16 years with a man named Michael Gurian, Dr. Michael Gurian. He's a New York Times best-selling author, and he spent 30-some years of his life using brain science research, best practices, to help educators and to help parents better understand the nuances in the way that boys learn versus the way that girls learn. And he and I have written some what we call rites of passage, which are, they were used mainly for boys, to train boys to be men. And now we use them for girls too. And we wrote some rites of passage, and I thought it would really be fun to take all of that great information and put it into story form.
Okay.
Because what a rite of passage does is it instills into boys and or girls the values that we want to instill into them, to be good men, to be good women.
And
so
you do it through a story.
Yeah, right. And so I wanted to do that in a way that would be entertaining, some good humor to it, and yet help boys and girls wrestle with that question, what kind of hero will I be? So that's really the point of the book. Hopefully, as one reviewer said, it's subversively and conspiratorially didactic, meaning hopefully the kids won't know I'm teaching them something as they read the book. They just sort of get it as they go along. So that's really the essence of the book. It's meant to be a fun read.
Yeah.
I intentionally put in pop culture references that kids would get, and that parents and grandparents would get, but maybe their kids wouldn't, so that everybody could really enjoy the book. And then hopefully at the end sort of say, now if you were Toby, what would you have done in that situation?
Yeah. Now, by the way, the science you're talking about, it's different for boys and for girls?
Yeah, so there are, the way that a boy's brain is wired is different in many ways. There's over 100 differences in the way that a boy's brain is wired versus a girl's brain. And so one of the things, for example, is that girls are able to process at one and the same time words and emotions. So if you ask a girl, how are you feeling, she can immediately, instantly come up with words.
Yeah.
If you ask a boy, how are you feeling, he's not accessing both sides of the brain at the same time. It can take a boy anywhere from 15 minutes to 2 days to figure out how he's actually feeling and put it into words.
Put it into words.
That's not a defect.
Yeah.
It's just a different way of accessing the words.
That's how they're wired.
Right. And so boys have far more testosterone, which is an energy chemical. Girls far more oxytocin, which is more relational. And so boys are having a harder time sitting still in school than girls do.
Yeah.
And as a result, right now, boys have fallen behind girls in every aspect of education, from preschool through PhDs.
Right.
And it's been happening since 1983. And so what Michael's trying to do is to say, look, there are better ways to teach our boys and girls. It's not about who wins and loses. It's about helping them both win. And I've been with him enough to sit through his seminars, and I've taught at some of them, and just to see the eyes open up and say, oh, no wonder these boys won't sit still. So part of the reason why I wrote this book the way I wrote it was to say, certainly I want girls to read the book. Obviously, it's got strong girl characters in it. But I want boys to be able to read it, and to read it from the way that their brains work.
Yeah, that's neat. That's extraordinary. I should say it's extraordinary. the approach that most of us don't know that or don't think about that. Now, I just don't want to let go without mentioning that you've written several other books that look absolutely fascinating, and I want to look at those too. I found them on Amazon, and I'm sure our viewers can find them there too.
Yeah, in my real life, I'm a pastor, and so the books that I've written, for the most part, have to do with my pastor life. Although I did write one book on boys called Searching for Tom Sawyer, that I took Gurian stuff and sort of put it into terms that people in the Christian tradition would understand.
Very good.
And that really then gave birth kind of the Toby Baxter adventures that will be that are out and will be coming out in the next several years.
Well, I have a feeling that somebody could do a lot of good by giving the gift of this book or making sure their kid reads it or their grandkid or niece or nephew. You know, my kids, when they're in junior high and high school, they went to these birthday parties. They always say, Dad, I need $20. I said, for what? He goes, that's what we give at the birthday parties now, $20. Says, no, you're taking a book. So this would be the perfect example, perfect book, probably less than $20. I don't know.
But yeah, it's about $11.
$11. So another reason to buy a stack of them and give them out. It's going to do good. It's going to touch people's lives, we hope. Maybe make people think, maybe make the kids think, maybe make the parents or grandparents think.
Yeah.
They only give me 10 minutes, Tim. I could talk to you all day. Any last thoughts for our viewers?
Well, first of all, Mike, thanks so much for having me on. And I guess I'd say to viewers, if you've got boys and girls, sons and daughters, grandkids, students who are in that age group, I think they'll find it's really a fun read and an insightful read, and they're going to get something out of it.
All right. Our guest is Tim Wright. He's the author of The Adventures of Toby Baxter. Just go to his website, timwrightbooks.com, and we'll be back with more. Another author right after this.